Greetings, Watford fans. Welcome to this 10-minute take, but it's not going to be very much of a 10-minute take. It's going to be a very quick take. Omar Moore here on Watford 0, Norwich 3. That is the scoreline that will reverberate in every Watford fan's head tonight and beyond until the next game. The question becomes, will Claudio Ranieri survive the next 2 weeks that Watford don't play? It's a 2-week international break. And so that will be something we will look at for the future. But this is not on Ranieri, I don't think. I think there's a lot more than just Ranieri that's the issue here. I think it's much more about the recruiting. It's much more about the board, who now, with these 3 signings that they had, helped redeem themselves only partially. But there is a lot more going on than anything to do with Ranieri or not. These players have laid down, and they laid down very low tonight for Norwich City. And it's just incredible. You look at the game and you think, my God, tonked at home by Norwich. That's absolutely embarrassing, isn't it? Tonked at home by Norwich City. Goodness gracious me. We had won 5 consecutive games in the league against Norwich. 5 consecutive. Well, that has gone by the boards now. That doesn't mean anything, because what you see now is a must-win game, and Norwich took advantage of it, but they didn't. How do you take advantage without taking advantage? The answer is Watford FC. The team tonight handed Norwich this game on a silver platter, and a floodlight delay did not help at all for the home side. It's the 3rd time this season that we've had a delay for a significant amount of time. And it's the 3rd time this season at the Vic that we've lost the game when that has happened. It's just one of those crazy things. And it is symbolic of this entire season. We have now had head coach after head coach. But what we really don't have is a team that's playing with any passion and effort. And they only do it in fits and starts. That's what happens. I don't know if Ismail Assar can save this team. I don't know if it's about one player. Because when there is a mentality that says we're not going to put our effort in and we're just going to pick up a paycheck, what do you do with that? I mean, you can't clear them all out now during this season. I mean, what is the game plan here? What was the game plan, more immediately speaking? What was the game plan tonight? I didn't see a game plan tonight from Watford. I didn't see any kind of strategy. And yeah, maybe that does go down to Claudio Ranieri in this situation. But I think the remit is pretty clear. I don't know how much of a game plan you really need. It's Norwich City you're playing. Norwich City are one of the poorest teams in the league. I think this might have been the first time in the Premier League this season that they'd scored 3 goals. Certainly the first time they scored 3 goals away from home, to the best of my memory at least. And they did it without putting up an effort. Teemu Pukki didn't do anything in this game. Adam Eder didn't do anything in this game for Norwich. Neither of them did. Josh Sargent got 2 goals, but those were 2 goals that were handed to him on a silver platter. Norwich City must be wondering, what on earth did they do to get those 3 points? Again, it's simple. Watford took themselves hostage on their own football pitch tonight. If you want to know why Watford lost this game, it's a number of things. But one of the things that stand out immediately to me is that this team held itself hostage at home. I don't know what else to say. But Watford did something that I have not seen a football team do. Actually hold itself hostage at home on its own pitch in front of their own fans. I think there's only 3 players tonight that did anything worthy of an effort. And quite frankly, one of them came off the subs bench. That was Cucho Hernandez. I thought he was the liveliest person on the pitch. And by then the game had been up. I thought Tom Cleverley acquitted himself fairly well. I thought Samir was pretty good tonight, despite the fact that he did slip, and that was the mistake that let Norwich in. But look, Samir is not the reason why Watford lost this game. And quite frankly, it's a team effort. And if you don't make an effort to win a game, you're going to lose. Watford did not do enough in this game to get a goal, let alone do enough to get any points. And as a result, we go into February now without a clean sheet. We remain the only team in the top 4 leagues of English football to not have a clean sheet. I don't think there's ever been a team in the history of the Premier League that has gone this long without a clean sheet and stayed in the Premier League. I am very concerned about this team, and I'm very concerned about whether the board is going to do something different here. The recruiting needs to do something different because the recruiting has not been good. It's not good enough. We have to get fresh ideas at this club. I've seen people on Twitter, fellow Watford fans, calling for the Potsos to go. Fans are looking for an answer from somewhere. Fans are looking for an answer from somewhere. And the fact that I've seen on Twitter some Watford fans calling for the Potso family to go. Where do we turn to? I'm at a loss right now, fellow Watford fans. There's not much else to say about this actual game. Floodlight failures or not. It doesn't matter about the floodlight failure. That's just a metaphor for Watford's season, isn't it? 3 of these games we played at the Vic, 3 games that have been delayed at the Vic due to something, where it's a health emergency. And thank goodness the 2 people where that's happened have turned out to recover and be okay. And now tonight, a floodlight failure. I mean, it's a metaphor for the entire season, isn't it? And we lost each one of those 3 games. Dennis did not do himself any favors tonight. And I know some Watford fans will say, well, Mike Dean should have booked someone else or sent someone else off on another challenge, or they should have been a card enforced there. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. But the fact of the matter is that Emmanuel Dennis has now, whatever you think about Mike Dean, Emmanuel Dennis has now let his teammates down. He is now going to be missing for the game against Burnley. Don't you think we could have used Emmanuel Dennis in 2 weeks from now? Don't you think that he would have been a good option for us? I know Dennis didn't do a lot tonight, but don't you think he would have been a good option? I think we've seen the routine now. The last couple of games, Dennis has not been so good. Sissoko has been off of it. He missed another glaring chance tonight. 2nd straight game he's done that. But Sissoko's not the problem at this club. Sissoko's otherwise had an outstanding season. Where do you think the problems are at this club, Watford fans, watching this video right now? Where do you think the problem is? The recruiting has not been good. I think that's been the case for a number of years now. It's a patchwork quilt. Where are we going to keep the lads up, to keep this club in the Premier League? We fought so hard to get to the Premier League. Where are we going? Are we going to stay here? I mean, I'm one of the most optimistic Watford fans you'll find. And even I now am beginning to look at the reality of what's going on. And what is going on is not a pretty picture right now. This is desperate for now. This is desperate. If Ranieri gets another game, and who knows if he will, they're going to have to win. He's going to have to get that team to win that game against Burnley in 2 weeks. And this is the thing. Here comes the international break. And Gino Pozzo makes changes in international breaks. And that is the thing that's going to probably happen here. You probably will hear news of Watford dismissing Claudio Ranieri. Ranieri, unfortunately, is going to be victim to this. And as good as I think Ranieri is as a manager, it has not translated sufficiently enough to this club. It just hasn't. For whatever reason, whether it's the players not playing, and I definitely think tonight we saw some individual play, some selfish play. Definitely think that's true. But they're not going to sack the players, all of them, are they? They're going to sack the manager, rightly or wrongly. And as a result, you're probably going to see that happen here. And if he does stay on, he's got to win against Burnley, as simple as, because these are the games that will keep you in the division. These games tonight. And don't relax and say, oh, well, we've got 2 games in hand and all that nonsense, because you still got to win the 2 games. And if Watford can't win these games against Norwich, how are they winning games in hand? How are they winning games in hand if they can't win the game that's in front of them? That is the issue. That's one of many issues. Watford have to really soul search here now. And these players have to look in the mirror at themselves and decide if they're playing just for a paycheck or if they're playing because they really care. Now, fellow Watford fans, you can have your say about that, whether you think these players care enough about the club or not, or if they care more about the wages and only about the wages. We can have that conversation here. But what I have seen tonight and what many Watford fans have seen tonight was absolutely atrocious. And it sullied the name of this club, quite frankly. They sullied themselves. They absolutely sullied themselves tonight. Graham Taylor is rolling in his grave with this performance. Graham Taylor would not have had this. He would have absolutely not had this. Players have got to give effort. And there was only maybe 2 or 3 players giving effort tonight. I've had enough of Kuchka. I've had enough of him. The goalkeeper tonight, atrocious. That was something that made me very nervous when I saw Backman's name in the lineup. But look, the fact of the matter is, it's not even his fault alone. You know, you can't pin this on the goalkeeper. This has been a problem all season for us. When are we getting a clean sheet, let alone another win? We've now lost 7 of our last 8 Premier League games. We have not won since mid-November. And we are going to be going into February, awaiting our first win since that time in mid-November against Manchester United. These 2 weeks are everything. And we've got a transfer window that we've got to still fill. I still think Watford need a player or 2. There's reportedly going to be Samuel Kalu, the winger. But the way we're going, what difference is it going to make? And that's why you do have some fans on Twitter saying Potso's out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that. I don't think the Potsos should be out of the club. I don't think so. You got to remember what Gino has done, what the Potsos have done for this club. Come on. But I don't fault the fans. I don't fault some fans for having that reaction. Fans are frustrated. Fans are really upset. I completely can see why a fan might do that, even if I don't agree. Fans are at wit's end with this club right now. So that's really my 10-minute take or so on this game. It's a downright shambles. Let's have it absolutely right. This was a shambles tonight, utterly atrocious. You cannot walk into that building, play like that again. This whole season, I don't care what happens. That performance was unacceptable. You have to want to win these games. And when you've got that ball, move it up the pitch and move it quickly up the pitch. And force the Norwich defense to react to you. Sting the palms of the goalkeeper. For God's sake, man. Act like you want to win the game. João Pedro and Josh King bickering at each other. And that's a good thing, I think, that they were doing that. But I wish that kind of passion and anger had actually been transmitted to the performance on the pitch. That's what I wish. These next 2 weeks, whether it's recruitment, whether it's the transfer deadline window and acquisitions or none, these next 2 weeks are going to go a long way towards whether or not this team stays in this Premier League. The players have to decide what they want to do. Do they want to just pick up a paycheck? Or do they want to actually fight for the shirt and fight for the club and fight for the fans and fight to stay in the Premier League? Those answers to the questions I just posed are left entirely up to these players and, quite frankly, to the recruiting and the board's next move on the chessboard over these next 10 days. This has been the Watford 10-minute take on Watford 0, Norwich 3.